Alright, now let's do some simple examples. Given the following polar coordinates, find the distance between, for number 1 we got to do A and B, and for number 2 we got to do A and C. So for A and B I like to rewrite the points we're using. Alright, so now we're just plugging it in. Let me rewrite it at the top of the page so I have it. First radius squared plus second radius squared minus 2 times each of those radii times the cosine of theta minus theta. Big angle minus small angle. Alright, so let's just plug everything in. 2 squared plus negative 3 squared minus 2 times negative 3 times the cosine of 300 minus 30 gives me 270 degrees. So I like to type it in the calculator first with that and then do the square root. Sorry, it's supposed to be plus 2 squared plus 3 squared. I'm not going to put the negative 3 in there. Anytime we square a negative, it's going to be positive. So I don't waste my time typing it in. But I do have to type it in over here because we're going to be multiplying it. Alright, so I'll make sure I have everything right. Looks good. 13. Square root it. Square root of 13 is 3.6. So my distance is going to be 3.6. Alright, number 2, A and C. Well, A is at 2 and 30 degrees, and C is at negative 5 and negative 7 pi over 6. Alright, we can't have radians. We have to change that to degrees. So let's take negative 7 pi over 6 times 180 over pi. Pi's cancel out. 6 goes into 180 30 times. So negative 7 times 30 is negative 210 degrees. So I have to use negative 210 degrees in the formula. The formula has to always be degrees. Alright, so let's plug everything in. 2 squared plus negative 5 squared minus 2 times negative 5 times the cosine of, let's see, bigger angle minus smaller angle. So 30 minus a negative 210 is going to give me a positive 240. Alright, let's just type all that in. Let's square root that. Oh, same as the other side. So that means our answer for the distance is 4.4. Alright, example 2. Word problem. Not that bad. A ship located 35 miles from the North Pole and 310 degrees longitude. Another ship is located 70 miles from the North Pole and 120 degrees longitude. Sketch the approximate position of the ships and find the distance between them. Alright, so which line is the longitude line and which line is the latitude line? The latitude line is basically the radius of the circle, and the longitude line is kind of like the angle lines. Alright, so let's see here. So it says each longitude line is 30 degrees, so we're still going to have 0 degrees here. So that means each of these angle lines is 30 degrees. So let's fill that in. Alright, so now it says, and the distance between the latitude lines is approximately 70 miles. So this first radius is going to mean 70 miles, and then the second radius here is going to be 140 miles. Okay, so now let's plot these points, 35 miles and 310 longitude. So 310 is going to be kind of in between here a little bit, approximate. And the radius there is 35, so that's got to be my halfway between 0 and 70. So I'm going to guess it's right there. And let's see, the other ship is located 70 miles at 120 degrees, so here's a 120 degrees, and then 70 miles would be right on the line. So I'm going to find the distance between these 2 points. So this was point, let me label them, 70, 120 degrees, and this was the point 35 at 310 degrees. Alright, so now we're just going to plug it into our formula. First radius squared, doesn't matter. I have to subtract 310 minus 120, so that gives me 190. Alright, type it in. So square root that. So my distance is approximately 104.6. Our units in this one are miles. Okay. Last page, the 2 basic graphs. So there are 2 basic polar equations. R for our radius is going to equal any number. And theta is going to be any angle, and it could be in degrees or radians. It doesn't matter. Alright, so our first graph the radius equal to 2. So basically all you're doing is you're going to graph a circle with the radius equal to 2. So I find 2 on my my polar coordinate, and I have to graph the radius equal to 2 all the way around. Since I didn't specify an angle, it goes through all of the angles. So anytime you're graphing a radius equal to any number, you find that radius on the graph, and you're just going to draw a circle through the radius that's given. Theta equal to 75 degrees. Well, there's no radius given here, it's just the angle. So we have to find 75 degrees, which would be, what, right in the middle here? So this would be 75 degrees right about here. When you're given, or when you're graphing an angle, it's just going to be a straight line through that angle. So this line here represents 75 degrees, so that's, I have to extend it through the whole circle. So this is theta equal to 75 degrees. So anytime you're graphing an angle, it's going to be a line through the entire grid. And that's all.